This podcast is sponsored by the Tollington Arms on Hornsey Road, a bubbly pub with a Thai kitchen home to thousands of Arsenal fans every season. Open daily from noon.
Hi everyone and welcome back to Gooner Ramble Girls podcast. Today all the girls are back recording. Hi Sima, Sophie and Sophia.
Hello. Yo, yo, yo.
You're well?
Couldn't be better.
Yep, great.
Good. Okay, so joining us is a very, very special guest. Arsenal legend who has played over 619 games for Arsenal in the right back position, scoring 25 goals. The girls and I are absolutely delighted and very, very excited to welcome Mr. Lee Dixon. Hi, Lee. Whoa!
Get in there.
That was me doing my own fanfare. Didn't think it was going to, so I just joined in.
Hello, Lee.
Hello, how are you all?
We're all good. We're all very excited. You know that, don't you?
Well, I hope I don't disappoint.
You never did play in the right back position, which we could do with you right now. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, well, if you saw my knee, you wouldn't say that.
Is that what put you out the game, the knee injury?
No, it was just old age. I was 30 when I retired, so I was kind of like right at the end of my physical powers. The game was starting to overtake me a little bit, so I just, me and Tony Adams decided to retire on the same day at the end of 2002. So what a nice way to go out, though. We won the double that year, so as you do recall, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. Lee, one of the games that I want to talk to you about for about 2 minutes, okay, is Anfield 89. I was behind the goal that night, as the whole world knows. I asked Alan Smith this, but I want to know from your perspective, the minute Lukic rolled the ball out to you, what was your thoughts?
It's a funny story, actually. Well, I hope it is. Basically, I was shouting, "Don't throw it to me." Because what happened was I'm sure you remember the actual end of the game, but Kevin Richardson had cramp. He was down and he just got up, and that's when Steve McMahon was doing the 1 minute sign to the cameras. And at that moment, or just after that, I asked the referee how long to go, and he said to me, "It's done." Those were his exact words. He said, "It's done." So I thought, well, that's it. And then obviously Barnsley went down the right and should have took it to the corner flag and they would have won the league, and decided in the tradition of Liverpool to score more goals and try to beat Kevin Richardson, who then knocked it back to Lukey. And as the ball went back to Lukey, I just had the referee's words ringing in my ear. It's done. So no point throwing it out to me. He just needed to kick it as far as he could up the pitch and hopefully get a flick on and see what happens. But so I honestly didn't want the ball, and he shouted my name, and he pulled his arm back to throw it, and I was like, what the effing hell is he throwing it to me for? Because I'm only going to do what he was going to do, and that was kick it. So anyway, as soon as he threw it to me, I thought, right, try and keep it on the pitch and don't shank it into the stand. And try and hit Alan Smith with it. And obviously I hit probably I asked in recollection of my career, I was a decent passer of the ball, but that's the pass that I always remember. It actually went where it's supposed to have gone. And he obviously went to Smudge, who had the best silky touch that's ever been taken at Anfield, and opened himself up, flicked it inside. I'm doing the commentary as if I'm playing it. But the only reason I know all of this is because, I don't know if Sophia or you know, but I've just finished filming yesterday. We're making a documentary about Anfield 89.
Oh my God, brilliant.
We've been filming it for about 10 months now, and
Is that quiet?
And we filmed Michael Thomas yesterday. Was the last interview we had to do. Righty came in as well to do a little bit on David Rocastle, because obviously he was big mates with David, and he was a big part of that season. So he did a little piece on him. So we actually, it's all in the can, and we're about 95% through the edit as well. So all of that, those memories about Lukey and throwing it out are all pretty at the front of my memory, because I've been talking about it for the last 10 months. And I'm telling you now, girls, the doc is absolutely amazing, because it's an exclusive this to you lot. Because the most expensive thing about making a documentary is getting the archive for the doc. All the interviews and everything costs money, but the actual archive is really expensive. And ITV hold all the archive, and we basically go to them and say, right, we need X number of minutes of the game. These are the bits we need. And then when we were looking at the stuff, the archive guy said, "Oh, do you want the 2 ISO cameras?" And we were like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Oh, there was 2 ISO cameras one was low down near the dugouts, and there was another one on the side of the pitch, a bit further up the line." And we said, "Oh, let's have a look at the footage." So there's a couple of cuts of Kenny Dalglish in the actual coverage on the night that they cut to show the close-up of the dugouts. But that camera was also on recording for the whole 90 minutes of the game. So we've got footage from that camera of the whole game.
Oh, wow.
So we actually cut the goal up at the end, because the goal's right at the end of the dock. We've cut the goal up from this ISO camera pitch side, so it's never been seen before. So it's honestly, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now, because it's epic. It really is epic. The footage, because you see players running past in front of the camera. It's a bit blurred. It's a bit shaky, but you see the goal from a different angle completely. And actually, I don't know if you remember the goal, but when Nigel Winterburn runs down the left outside Michael Thomas, and he carries on running when the goal goes in, you see him go running off around the goal.
Yeah.
He actually runs right in front of the camera when you can see him start to make his run from that ISO camera. And so it's an amazing, we've got some amazing archive. We've got a new guy, a young guy, the editor called Sam, who's really creative, and he's put, as I said, we've done about 95% of the edit now, and I've seen it about 6 or 7 times, and every time I see it, it evolves into something else. And right in the middle of it, sorry, I'm just waffling on here.
That's
but
fine.
Right in the middle of it, there's obviously a piece about Hillsborough, which was really quite difficult to get in and out of, because it's quite upbeat about the team and all that. And then all of a sudden you've got to go, oh, hang on, we've got to fit Hillsborough in. So the way that's been done is brilliant. And the lads talking about Hillsborough, it's so emotional. And then we come out of that and get back into the doc. So the doc's it's obviously 91 minutes long.
Lee, when's it out and where can anyone see it?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. Well, it got commissioned by Universal Pictures, because we went, so you know Amy Lawrence, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Amy came to me about 10, 11 months ago and said, "We've got this idea for a doc. Do you want to be involved in it?" And I said, "What's it about?" And she went, "Anfield 89. I went, "Yeah, obvs." You know what I mean? So I'm basically the exec producer. I have some of that.
Wow, that's so cool.
Well, that basically means I have to ring all the lads up and get them to do the interviews. So it's not that glamorous, I can tell you. So we did this doc, but we had to sell it to, sell the idea. So anyway, we pitched it to Universal Pictures, and they took one look at the idea and said, "Right, we'll give you the money straight away." So they've got the rights to it. So we're producing it, and they're going to distribute it. So it'll have a cinema release around London. It'll then go to DVD. The club are involved as well in actually promoting it. So it'll be on the screen at half time, promoting it at all the games. So we finish editing, probably be ready to be shown about November time.
So does that mean that us and the girls come to the premiere?
That's what I was going to ask.
Can we be your date?
Fortunately, I'm in charge of tickets. So.
We're in.
Quid's
Because
in.
I don't know.
Can I just...
Go on.
Real quick, the most unbelievable thing about that night, there's something about commentary, and I know that TalkSport just did this documentary Sam Matterface did, which was brilliant, called It's Up for Grabs Now. They actually called it after the Brian Moore phrase. And I don't know if a commentator has captured a historic football moment better than Brian Moore did that night. The unbelievable climax. The Liverpool players are down, absolutely abject. Aldridge is down, Barnes is down. Dalglish just stands there. Nichols on his knees. McMahon's on his knees. I mean, it's unbelievable that, that he was able to capture the brilliance of a result like that at Europe's best club at the time. And so to kind of, I don't know if that's a part of the documentary, Lee, but also you players kind of looking back on that, you must have just loved the way he captured that moment.
Yeah, I mean, it is iconic, and I think that I've heard that commentary now a million times because we're through the edit, it keeps getting played back and forward. But the way that, hopefully, the way that we've done the documentary, it creates this underdog story from the team that George was trying to put together, getting rid of all the prima donnas and getting a young side together that was hungry, going into the Lions' Den, if you like, of Anfield and challenging, an established, amazing football team, taking them on and saying, right, let's just see what you've got this season. And then the way this season develops and the way we go about it without a load of fear, we seem to relish the challenge of taking Liverpool on, and that goes. So the first 45 minutes of the doc is about the team that George built. George is brilliant on it. We've got loads of George. Some of the stuff he comes out with is just fantastic. How he put the team together, what philosophy, how he created the hunger in the team, how much we worked, how hard we worked, and then then the last 45 minutes is the game. Is that day, and it culminates in the Michael Thomas goal. And then after that, there's a little bit about what happened after, about the celebrations, because it was on a Friday night. It was unheard of to have a live game on a Friday night. Getting back on the motorway was just horrific. Great, but there's just cars everywhere. You obviously, some of the girls who went will know that, but
Lee, can I just say something? That I saw the coach on the M25. We were next to you and we watched Nigel Winston and all of you jumping up and down like lunatics, and then you pulled off, I think, to go to Southgate or somewhere like that. I just could not believe it. We were banging on our windows and everything. My family, we were going nuts.
Well, the only person who wasn't on that coach that night was me.
Really?
Where were you?
There's a story.
There's a story here, don't worry. So about 2 weeks, because it obviously got delayed because of Hillsborough, so it was 2 weeks after the season had finished. And my uncle was over from Australia, and he went to Australia when I was 6 months old, and I hadn't seen him since. And I was 89, I was 20. What was I in 89? 20, hang on. I forgot when I was born. 25 I was. So I hadn't seen him for a good 24 years. So my mum said, the last game of the season, when you play in Liverpool, your uncle's coming over for 2 weeks. So is there any games? Can you go to that game? And I went, yeah, of course. I'll get him tickets. But it's the last game of the season. And she went, it doesn't matter what it's about. She didn't know what it was for or anything. So I was like, okay. And then she said, about 2 days before the game, she said to me, and he's going back just after, so we're going to have a big leaving party after the game. So I went, okay, right. And then I thought, well, we're going to get beat anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. You thought you'd do? You thought you were going to?
Everyone thought we'd get beat. Everyone.
Yeah, I said to the lads before we went out, let's keep it below 4. It's one of those.
Did you?
Love it.
Wow.
Sounds like my dad.
Yeah. So I said to my mum, yeah, I'll be there anyway. So after the game, obviously we won, and I'm in the dressing room with a massive magnum of champagne, And all the lads are going, where are we going to go when we get back? And we're all like winners, and we're going to go Southgate and da-da-da. And I was like, oh, shit, I've got to go. My brother was waiting outside with my uncle. So, and I was absolutely smashed, because after the game, you normally try to eat something, but after that game, we didn't. We were just drinking champagne. So anyway, the lads all got on the coach, and I stood by the players' entrance with a bottle of champagne, waving them off.
No.
Like thinking, I should be on this coach. It's just ridiculous. I'd made a promise to my mum. My mum probably would have said, you know, you can go. There's no mobile phones then or anything. So it was kind of like, so I got in the car with my brother, and I got in the car with my brother, and I was driving through Liverpool. And this is a God's honest truth. Driving through Liverpool, and I was like hammered, you know, drinking champagne. And I said to my brother, I'm starving.
I know this story. Go on, Lee. Carry on. I know this.
Know,
yeah.
No. So I said, let's get some fish and chips. So we're driving through Liverpool, and he saw this fish and chip shop, and I jumped out of the car and jump out. I had my Arsenal blazer and tie on, go running into this chip shop in the middle of Liverpool, having just beaten 2-0. And I go running in, I go, 4 fish and chips, mate, to the guy behind the thing.
They recognise you.
And as I run in, I had this feeling of like all these eyes looking at me, and then the penny dropped as to where I was and what I'd just said and what I'd just done.
Yep.
And I just thought, oh, I'm just going to get a Stanley knife now. That's it. Literally going to die on the best night of my life. And the bloke behind the bar, behind the chip shop, looked at me and he goes, "You can have extra chips, lad. We're all Evertonians." And we had
I knew that
massive
story.
Big party in the chip shop. It was brilliant.
They were all blues. That's why. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, I went home and we had a party at home with my uncle, so I didn't actually go to the party.
Oh.
Well, I saw the coach on the way home and they were going nuts, Lee. But go on, Sophia, you've got a question for Lee, yeah?
Yeah, so being a City fan, because that's what you grew up as, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And being an Arsenal player, we speak to a lot of City fans who keep trying to tell us that Aguero's last-minute winner was the best, and we always argue that Anfield 89 is best because we had to go to the best team in the country, we had to win by 2 goals, we were playing it was number 1 and number 2 playing each other, while City were at home to QPR.
Yeah.
Right, and we argue about it. As a City fan, as an Arsenal fan, I presume you support both. Which to you is the best?
No, let's get it right. I don't support both. I said to my son when he was growing up, you can change everything in your life apart from your football team. But I booked the trend. I booked the trend, and I'm now an Arsenal fan, obviously.
Right.
Because I can't play for someone for 15 years and then not have an affiliation. So I always want Arsenal to beat Man City. So let's just get that right.
Cool.
And it's not even no point arguing about it. It's not even anywhere. The only similarity is they scored near the end of the game. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not anything like it. QPR were QPR. We were playing the best team in Europe. We were a load of kids. They had mature players. It's not even the same. The commentary was good. It was not as good as Brian Moore's. It's not even an argument. I'm not even going to give it any more energy.
Lee, the thing is, I've got City friends, and funny enough, I was just thinking of this question. I've got City friends that were at the match that day, and we argue about the same thing, and I say the same as you. It's not comparable. You do not go to Anfield. No one went to Anfield and won ever anyway, let alone the last game of the season when you got to win by 2 clear goals and the situations with what it was. But their argument is, well, we took the league off United. How would you feel if it was Spurs? I said, you can't compare it. And also...
But we took the league off Liverpool.
Yeah,
we were playing the game.
Absolutely, but what they're saying is their rivals, the United and City, would have been us and Spurs. And I said, look, I'm not going to argue with this anymore. Regardless of the fact that I'm not a biased supporter, if I'd have thought City was much higher in that, I would have said it. For me, it was Fortress Anfield. End of story. There's nothing else to even discuss on this. And I agree with you. Let's not give them any credence that they don't deserve.
It's the single greatest moment in English football history, in club football. The odds were against Arsenal, and what they did, what the team did, and all the things that Lee's just said. It is, in all of the history of English football, there's nothing. We've never seen anything like that. It's so unique. It's so special. And you're right, Amanda. If it was right to call that City's moment was better, then we would do that. But when you weigh up both, there's no way. It was an unbelievable night, and I just don't think it's been eclipsed yet, and I'm not sure it will be.
Also, can I just say something? I think if Sky were around in 1989, it would have been a very different story. It was Friday night. Didn't you have 10 minutes after? I don't know, because I was there, but it wasn't there like 10 minutes after. We'd have had hours of it. It would have been a very different situation.
They went to the news literally as we were picking the trophy up. Went to the news, so. Yeah, but we had as part of the documentary, apart from the people who were involved in it, we like to add a bit of star quality just to expand to a different audience, or a bigger audience. So we had Thierry did a little piece for us because we wanted to get, when he came to the club, we wanted to get because he always says that the camaraderie and the team spirit of the back four and the English players was one of the things that took his breath away when he came to the club. It was just an amazing thing that he had, that he grasped onto when he came. So we wanted him to talk about that spirit. And he did a piece of camera for us, and we asked him loads of questions. But the one thing that came out that's right at the end of the documentary, he said, we asked him, what do you think about the game as an impact game? And he said in his beautiful French accent that I can't do, he looked down the barrel of the camera and he said, it's the best ending to a sporting event ever, period. And that's it. It ends it like that. And then I just went, wow, it is. It's never happened again.
So, Lee, I could talk Anfield all night. Okay, I could. Okay, because I've got my stories when I was there and what was going on and everything, but we can't. There's so much we want to talk to you about. We want to talk about something else that, for us, you played in the best back four Arsenal, for me, in my time of going, has ever seen. For you, what was it like? I mean, obviously you came from Stoke, didn't you, with Baldy? Is that correct? Yeah. You came from, I remember this, even I'm quite old. You came with Baldy and you came into this defence with Graham. He was trying to build something that obviously was amazing in the end. What was it like for you from Stoke, coming into Arsenal, which was like a very big club, I suppose, at the time for you, coming to George Graham, and then all of a sudden you were put in? Because wasn't it that Nigel Winterburn played on the right and then went to the left because of Kenny Sansom, or have I got that wrong?
No, that's right. Yeah, he was playing. Yeah. Him and Michael Thomas were playing right back between them, and then when I came, Nigel moved over and Kenny left, and Mickey Thomas went in midfield. Thank God, otherwise he wouldn't have scored that goal. But yeah, I mean, the one word that stands out for me when signing at the club back in '88 was terrifying, because I was, Mick Mills was in the dressing room at Stoke one morning. I went in and he said, Dick, I need to speak to you. So I said, I thought I'd done something wrong. So I went, okay. So I went to his office and he said, right, you've got your big move. Arsenal have come in for you. We've accepted an offer. Congratulations. And I was like, well, hang on a minute. I'm like, do I have to go?
Did you not want to leave?
No, because I was like, I just didn't think I was up to it. Playing in the first division was a big jump for me. And I thought, I'm not going to be able to handle that. And I was petrified, literally. I'd only ever been to London once. And my setting time to London was coming down with Mick Mills in the car to sign for Arsenal, to speak to George Graham at Watford Gap service station. So we drove down, and on the way down there, Mick Mills said to me, right, you've made it now. You're going to, and I said, what sort of money should I be getting? Because I was on 350 quid a week at Stoke, and they'd offered me a contract to stay for 500 quid a week. So I was like,
wow.
Oh, I said, wow, okay. And then he said, well, you'll get £1,000 a week at Arsenal, so that's your kind of starting thing. And I was like, wow, £1,000 a week. That's like, I couldn't even imagine money like that. So I go down to the service station. Mick Mills goes into the have a coffee with Steve Burtonshaw, and I get in at George Graham's Jag, so in the service station. So he's sitting there and he looks at me and he goes, welcome aboard. He said, I'm building a young team. I'm getting rid of all these prima donnas. I'm going to make a team. You're going to have to work hard. It's going to be exhausting, but you're going to win things. It's going to be great, blah, blah, blah. And then gets out the car. So I sort of went, we haven't talked about wages or anything. You know, how does that work? Because I didn't have an agent or anything. And he said, oh, right, I'll give you 500 quid a week. And I went, well, I've just been offered that from Stoke. And basically, George slammed the door and said, I've got you all wrong. I didn't have you down as a money grabber. Walked into the service station, and I sat in his car on my own, thinking, oh, shit, I think I've messed my deal up. Mick Mills comes out, grabs me out of the car, puts me in his car. At this point, I'm now crying. He sits down, he goes, what the effing hell have you said to him? He said, he's just come in and said the deal's off. And I went, I just asked him what you asked. You told me to ask £1,000 a week. So I asked for £1,000 a week, and he just laughed at me and got out of the car. So I was like, he goes, oh, you said, you've blown it. They don't want you to sign you. So we drove back to Stoke, and I went home to my wife then and said, I'm not going to Arsenal. And she went, why? What have you done? I said, I've asked for too much money. And she went, you fucking idiot. Sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, don't worry.
Sure, why not?
You flipping idiot. And anyway, so I went into training next day and I said to Mick, I want to go and see George down at Arsenal. So I got on the train and I went down and I got a taxi to Highbury and I walked up the steps at the Marble Halls and I walked in and Herbert Chapman was looking at me and I said to Herbert, I'm not leaving before I sign. And I went to George's office and I said, give me the contract, I'll sign for 500. And he went, I tell you what, I'll give you 750 because you've come back. So we did a deal, and then the work, and then the hard work started. And actually, Baldy came. I was in the February. Baldy came in the summer, so I was there first. And then that first season, when Baldy came, that's the season we won the league at Anfield, but it was hard work. I had no clue what we were doing at the beginning because it was all I used to play a certain way as a fullback, and it was always show the winger down the line, and if he's got pace, show him down the line, get a tackle in, But that was the opposite at Arsenal. Everything was shown inside. You had to go on the outside of the winger and show him into the packed midfield. That was the way we played.
You know what, Lee? That's really interesting that you say that because one of the things we girls have been talking about a lot is, and you mentioned Steve Bold, and my question here is double pronged, but I'll keep it short in that over the last few seasons, why do you think we haven't been able to replicate our great defenders defending of the past, especially when we have someone like Steve Bold on the coaching staff? And in our last two games, I feel like we've set our defence up to fail a little bit because we've been playing players out of position. Do they lose confidence in that way? How would you have felt if you were asked to play centre-back, when you were such a good right-back? Talk us through that a little bit.
Well, I think players, it's an excuse if you're playing out of position to use. And players do jump on any excuse they can because they don't want to appear weak or anything. So I say, oh, yeah, I'm playing out of position, or it's easy to do that. You should be able to play in different positions, and there has been injuries, etc. But to go to the first part of your question, the art of defending has completely changed. The offside rule, the level is onside, has slightly changed the way you play offside. The ambiguous rules of the offside. The way that referees see active players, non-active players, it's a lot more confusing than it used to be. He's standing level or offside, he's offside whether he's interfering with play or not, and it was a lot simpler then. So I have some sympathy with the defenders now, but only a very small amount, because the basic principles of being together and working the ball into an area where you can win it back, that's not changed. The ball hasn't changed, the pitch hasn't changed. So I have this argument with Baldy. I say to him, why don't you show inside anymore? Because they show outside now. And he went, oh, you can't do it anymore, Dicko. The game's changed. I go, tell me why. Me and Tony Adams have the same opinion on this, that you still could play the same way. And he goes, no, because, a lot of teams play with a number 10 now. So if you're showing inside, you're showing into their strengths. The opposite, the wingers now play opposite wings where like Hazard is right footed, plays on the left. So he's cutting in on his right. So he's more dangerous. And I went, I don't care. I said, if you're showing him on his right, stronger foot, if the principles of why you're doing that are still the same, and you're doing that to show him into your strength, because you've got a centre half on the inside of you, you've got a Patrick Vieira showing him into there, and it's a crowded area, and you're blocking off the wings. That's why we did it, so to stop crosses. So you show them inside so they can't cross the ball. That was the whole principle. And if you're not crossing the ball and you're very tight in the centre of the pitch, unless they play a really cute little 1-2 or they do some brilliant skill, then fair enough. But most of the time over a season, you will keep the ball away from your goal longer than you would if you shoot them down the line. That's the principle we always used to work to. And I said to Boldy, it's not changed. It's still 11 on the pitch. I understand the dynamics have changed a little bit, but I still think we don't defend. And in fairness to Boldy, and again, this is something that is my thought, he doesn't get the time, I believe, with the team that I think he should get, without saying too much. Arsene's very controlling as a coach and as a manager. He does it his way, and the time allocated to the team on the training pitch, I believe, isn't always taken up with the right personnel doing the coaching. Let's put it that way.
Wow,
yeah,
fascinating.
Wow, it is fascinating.
That's an amazing breakdown, totally.
Sima, have you got a question for Lee?
Yeah, I mean, with that said, seeing as the times have changed, I feel like so has the English Arsenal core project, and it seems like it's actually been kind of blown into pieces. I mean, right now we only have Ox and Walcott being part of the squad. I know Welbeck was injured, but still. Do you feel like the club has failed, or where do we seem to have been going wrong? The English players from the academy to the first team has been actually quite low from the Arsenal, from club. Yeah.
Well, I think, the identity of a team comes from the manager. There's no doubt about that. You don't play. Harry Redknapp's teams play a certain way. Klopp's team play a certain way. Pochettino, they all have their identity. Arsenal's identity has become what it is. It's a fourth placed, very attack-minded, brilliant, short passing team that will blow away most teams quite often, but there's a weakness in the side mentally in the dressing room and on the pitch that every now and again rears its ugly head, and they lose the game that is the one that they should have drawn or nicked it 1-0. So once you've got an identity that is part of your DNA, then unless you change the personnel or change the way you play, it will just keep happening again and again and again. And if you look at the team, how it's evolved over the last 10 years, it's the same type of player that is in the team. And they play the same way as they played for the last 10 years. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out that probably you'll get a similar sort of outcome. Hence why we finish where we do every year. That's my belief anyway.
So if you were manager and you had the current squad and knew that we can't change the squad, say the transfer window's closed, what would you do to change the formation? Would you change the formation? What would you do to go from losing 1-0 to Stoke to beating them quite easily?
Well, the game has always been and always will be about players. So you can have the best coach in the world, unless you've got the players that can put your ideas onto a pitch, i.e. intelligence, that you can take the manager's ideas, put them on the pitch, discipline, heart, desire, all of that stuff into the mix, then if something's missing out of there, and you can say, right, take Arsene, it's like when they're all going on about, Arsene not being there this year. Whoever came into that club you can't put heart and desire into players. You can't tell, Ozil will play like Ozil plays until he's too old to play. He'll play like that all the time. That is how he plays. Mm-hmm. So a new manager come in and might get the better out of him because he gives him a boost for a period of time. But when things go wrong, Ozil will do what he does. Mm. And so the personnel, if I took over tomorrow, and God forbid, but if I took over tomorrow, there's only a certain amount you can do with that squad because they're all very similar players. You can instill a bit of you. I'd certainly start whacking them with a stick like we were whacked. I don't mean that to do any harm. And certain players that are hanging around on 65, 70 grand a week, just picking the money up and, due a testimonial, they'd be out the door for us, straight away. There's a malaise at the club. There's a comfortable feeling about the club. Nobody wins anything by being comfortable. You have to be on edge. You have to be hurting. You have to be driving yourself on a daily basis. I don't see that at the club right now.
On that note, I read something. Sorry.
Go on, Sima.
Yeah. On that note, I read something that you wrote about Sanchez being moody and difficult to handle. Do you think that's what, I know it's getting such a boring subject to talk about Sanchez, but do you think that's what's affecting his current situation right now?
Well, he's not the first player who's been moody and difficult to handle at the club. Been at the club, we had loads of them. It's like it's not about that. It's about the fact that players have been allowed to believe in their own self-importance bigger than the club. That's the essence of it. It doesn't matter who it is. Back in the day when, I'll give you an example, back in the day when, and you can't do, the game has changed, there's no doubt about that. But back in the day when Michael Thomas scored that goal that we've just been talking about, the following season he went to Liverpool and played, trained for about 3 months with the reserves because he wouldn't sign a new contract because he wanted more money. And George went, right, go on. He used to train on the pitch next to the first team. He used to come out for the warm-up. George used to give him a bag of balls and go to the pitch over there, go and train on your own. And Mick, he used to get the balls and dribble up and down the pitch doing little dribbles on his own. The lads were laughing their heads off while we were training and going, all right, Mick. And he'd go, yeah, he's fine. He'd just carry on. And then he'd go in and he'd do that like 3 or 4 days a week. And he wouldn't play. But George's stance there was, you think you're bigger than the club. You scored that goal. This is how I'm going to treat you. Right. You can't do that with players now. You can't put Sanchez on a pitch. He just won't, Costa, he'll just go to Brazil and he won't come back. Mm-hmm. So there's a power that the players have now that I believe is very difficult to manage. And I'm not, if you've got a difficult player who is a bit sulky and comes in training sometimes and doesn't want to train, then other days he does, then you've got to manage that. I don't think it's anything to do with the individual as such, because it's just a modern player. It's a characteristic of some modern players, not all of them. It'd be wrong to say that Koscielny's going to do that or somebody like that. It's just the way he is. He's got that personality, and managing that, I don't envy Arsene having to manage that at all.
Lee, can I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
At the moment, and probably the last couple of years, Wenger and Kroenke have come in for a lot of stick. Do you think it's warranted? Can I ask your opinion on that?
What, Kroenke and Wenger or both?
Just both, generally, are coming in for a lot of stick, plus Gazidis as well.
Well, the fans are always going to have their say, and ultimately the fans will decide not who's manager, but it will decide how long Wenger lasts. Because last year, when it was at its worst, the season kind of came at a good time and they won the FA Cup and it seemed like it was on the up, and then he signed his 2-year contract. If the season had gone on another month and they'd lost another 2 or 3 games, I think the fans would have flipped over to more wanting him out than in. So Arsene, it's quite difficult for me to criticise him because he was a brilliant manager to play for at the time of my career. But I wouldn't have liked to have played for him when I was younger, because he's not he's a man manager, but he's not a great coach in my book. You know, he doesn't teach you what to do. He just expects you to go out and learn off the players around you, which when he came to the club, he had all us lot teaching. Ashley Cole couldn't defend to save his life when he was at Arsenal to begin with. And he turned out to be the best left back in the world.
Who taught him?
And that was Tony Adams.
Yeah.
And Tony Adams, it was Tony Adams, me, and the back four he was playing in, because whenever he went in a bad position, Tony hit him with a stick and went, stand back there and don't do it again. he educated him on where to be and how to play the game. And Arsene looked at it and went, brilliant. Tony's doing my job for me, because he's not a great coach in knowing what's right and wrong defensively. He sets teams up with a brilliant freedom that's, you know, and he brought some amazing players when he had the freedom of the French market.
Yeah.
He hasn't got that now.
Yeah.
Now he's competing against everyone else who knows the market better than him. So his ability to go out and nick a Nicolas Anelka or a Patrick Vieira or a Gilles Gramondi or a Thierry Henry. I didn't nick Thierry, obviously, but let's not forget that he put him down the middle. He created Thierry Henry, Arsene, so he takes great credit for that. And he's a brilliant manager to play for. I loved playing for him, but I don't think I would have loved playing for him when I was 18, because he wouldn't have taught me anything. He'd have taught me how to prepare for a game and refuel, and instead of having all that lager, I'd have been on milkshakes.
You know, what's interesting that you're saying is that we haven't seen the progress of a Walcott. We haven't seen the Ox progress the way we wanted to. What you're saying is so enlightening, because some of the players you expect to be in a certain spot in their careers right now, they're just not there. And that really explains kind of, you know, how you've articulated that. And, you know, Tony Adams came under a tremendous amount of stick earlier this year because of his criticisms of Arsene. Do you feel then if someone like Tony Lee was involved in the club, our defence could potentially be one of the best in Europe?
No, because you've got somebody out of the defence as an assistant manager.
Yeah.
But we keep making the same mistakes, but we keep still making the same mistakes. So help me understand that a little bit.
Well, I'll let you work it out for yourself.
I know exactly what you're trying to say. Yeah,
I do too.
If somebody who knows how to defend is assistant manager and they're not defending, then something's going wrong somewhere.
I often say, Lee, that if Tony Adams was on that pitch with our defence, can you imagine what he would only do to him?
Well, it's a hard one it's hard to watch at times, because it's not just the defence. You know, the whole mentality of the team is not set up to know what they're doing without the ball. And when you've got the ball most of the time, it's fine. But when you haven't got the ball, you look at the games we play when we haven't got the ball. When we play teams like Bayern Munich or someone like that in the Champions League, it's embarrassing.
Yeah,
we are embarrassing without the ball.
It's so
and
true.
I've said that publicly. It's not something that, you know, we can sit here and have a chat about and go, oh, I'm saying a big secret. We are embarrassing without the ball. We've got a bit better, but not a lot against the big teams. I mean, look at the goal. If you look at the goal against Stoke, where we give the ball away and how many players we had behind the ball.
Yeah,
they had two players and still score. How does that work? We used to do back four work when George used to have 7 players against the 4 of us. No one scored, because you have systems in place to be able to stop multiplayer attacks. We have 7 back and get beat by 2. It's like,
Lee, is it true that Adams and a few of you had a chat with Vieira about protecting the back 4, or is that just like a rumour?
No, we basically said to Patrick, if you move out of the way of standing in front of us, we'll beat you up.
Yeah.
Well, that worked a treat.
I did hear that.
And he's quite a big lad, but there was 4 of us.
And I just, look, I mean, it's fabulous and I love having you here, but I have to talk about just one little thing with you. Your own goal against Coventry. What was
a peach.
What was going through? Yeah, he could have won goal of the month. What was going through your head at that moment?
Well, it's fine because I'm still earning royalties off the DVDs. So every time you watch it, I get another £1.
Honestly, Lee, I was there watching you, and I watched you after the game, and I'm sure you just turned around and folded your arms. Is that right, or is that in my memory that's wrong?
No, I put my hands on my hips and looked down shakingly at my right foot, thinking somebody's put my boots on the wrong feet. I honestly, it was just a reflex. It was just a reflex. Oh, I'll kid the lad thinking I'm going to knock it back, but then I won't. And then last minute, somebody came to my right and I thought, oh yeah, I'll just chip it back because that lad's not there now. And then as soon as I hit it, I looked up at Dave and I went, oh shit, it's in. I could tell it was in. I started the chips over Seaman's head. So I was the first one, and then it was Naeem and Ronaldinho.
Oh, honestly, Lee,
that's brilliant.
It was a brilliant goal.
He was definitely wearing his boots. He was definitely wearing his boots on the right feet when he scored against Chelsea.
Yeah, that's true.
What a sweet goal that was.
My friend was in the stand, and he's a Coventry fan. And it was against Coventry. He was a Coventry fan, and he was in the stand, and he always had 10 quid on me first goal scorer, and he was a Coventry fan.
Oh, that is brilliant. I mean, that is so superb. How much did he win? What were the odds? How much did he win that day?
He didn't.
No, you don't win it on own goals.
Oh, you don't? Oh, right.
Oh, that's brilliant. So, Lee, just a quick question before we say goodbye to you. I miss Highbury terribly. And I obviously went to Highbury for many, many, many years, from the 70s onwards, and then to the Emirates, which, you know, it's not my home. How do you feel the atmosphere could be improved a little bit? Because it's quite dire, to be honest. And obviously the toxic atmosphere around Wenger and, you know, what's going on at the club at the moment. Do you feel as a player, what would you have loved from the fans?
It's difficult, the new stadium, because everyone's split up. There's no continuity to what Highbury was like. It just seems all a bit of a mishmash. Although they've tried to, you know, make the singing area or whatever it is. It's just like, it's a typical it's a beautiful stadium, but all the new stadiums are very difficult to recreate the atmospheres that you get at the old stadium. There's no doubt about that. But there was definitely an identity that I related to at Highbury, different places, you know, the North Bank, the family enclosure, the clock end, all the ones in the clock end. I knew half their names, you know, every week they'd be the same. And because I always stood on the post corners, you get to chat with them when the ball's going, you know, and the same people are sitting in the same areas. And I'm sure obviously the same people are sitting in similar areas at the Emirates, but it's very sterile. And the way to change it is win a couple of leagues and then it'll start changing. Because when I first signed for Arsenal in '88, made my debut against Luton at home, we won 2-1. There was 14,000 there or something. It was like minging. It was people like kicking cups around the terracing. It was just empty. It's empty. And then obviously the next season we won the league and it was full every week. So you create your own atmosphere to a certain extent. And as you said, there's a lot of unrest amongst the fans, you know, and you've got fans fighting against each other and not having a difference of opinion regarding how the club's moving forward, then you're always going to get a strange atmosphere.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up, but Sophia's got one last question for you.
Okay, I'm quite biased because I'm your friend, but I think you're one of the best pundits on TV. As an ex-player and as a current fan, how do you manage to strike the balance of keeping Arsenal Football Club and the fans on side? Do you get a lot of abuse? How do you deal with it?
It's difficult when you first come out of the game and you start talking about your ex-teammates and that. And they tend to push you into Arsenal games to talk about. I found it quite difficult the first couple of years, but then you realise that what you're there for. And so I try to adopt a style of just being as honest as I could. And I'm quite good analysing the game. So my pundit style, if you like, and I hate that word pundit, it's horrible.
Well, what would you use then?
I consider myself a football analyst.
Oh, God.
I like the word analyst because I'm analysing what I'm seeing and I'm trying to share my insight with the person at home. So that's why it used to be brilliant working with Adrian Childs, because he knows very little about football. So as a presenter and a West Brom fan, he genuinely used to ask me questions about what's happened there, and I used to go, and I'd have to explain it to him in a very simple, not
layman's terms,
not condescending, but in a simple way that he could understand. And I always found when he was on set, and I'd go, well, see this position here, and I'd do my analysis with him in mind and go, this player's moving there, and what does he, when he moves there, what does he leave behind? Because most of the things that happen on a football pitch, it's not about where the player is running or where the ball is going. It's about what happens behind them that's changed. So a player makes a run, a piece of grass opens up for another player to run in. So always don't necessarily watch the ball or the player running, watch one behind or the pass behind that's just happened, where that player goes. And so I tried to educate him on watch those bits. And he was like a light bulb went off in his head. God, that's amazing. I can see, And I used to watch games live with him when we weren't working, and I used to watch him following the ball. I said, don't follow, but look over there. See on the left wing now, ball's on the right wing. See the left wing now. See the winger just creeping in behind the back of the fullback. The fullback doesn't know he's there. And then next minute, the cross comes in from the right, and the winger has got the other side of the fullback, and he's headed the ball in the net. But unless you're looking at that, or you know it's going to happen, you follow the ball and you go, oh, it's a great header. Well, what's the defender doing? Well, you could, if you follow it before that, you see what the defender's not doing. So that's the kind. So I can be critical of my team, Arsenal, but in a sympathetic way of going, well, maybe. And I also, you have to understand as well that it's a lot harder on the pitch than all us lot watching think it is. Yeah. It's really, it's difficult. We're watching it from a screen or a stand, and you're looking on top of it. You can see everything. When you're pitch level, you don't see anything. You don't see any of the space unless you're a really good player. You don't see any of the space. The runs that people are running across each other. You don't see people running across each other on a screen because you're looking over the top. So you see their movement. You go, is he in space? Pass it to him. On a pitch, you've got people shouting. You've got people trying to put you off. You've got people pushing you. You've got referee in the way. You've got a load of crowds shouting at you. So there's all this going on. And so it's a lot more difficult. So I try to be a bit sympathetic with the player, saying he made a massive mistake there, but somebody might have said something to his ear. Because what you don't understand is I'm just about to run into a space to make a tackle. And all the fans go in there, make the tackle, and win the ball. At the moment I decide to go, Tony Adams, who's standing next to me, might say, don't go, Dicko, because he feels threatened in his position. Right. So there's communication going on. So you go, don't go, Dicko. So I don't go because I trust him. And then the fans go, oh, you didn't have done that for. And then turns out Tony will probably win the ball. But they forget about that. They just think you haven't done your job. So they don't. So I know all that's going on. So you have to, when you see it on the screen, you have to go, why has he not done that? And you have to try and give him the benefit of the doubt before you then, unless he's a Tottenham player, and then you just hammer him.
Wow. Spectacular end there. Brilliant.
Oh, Lee, it's just been the most amazing hour or so with you. I can't thank you enough. Stay
with us forever.
Just don't go and do your pundit job that you don't like being called a pundit. I know you have to leave us now, and I just want to say on behalf of the girls and the Gooner Ramble Girls pod, thank you so much.
My pleasure, anytime.
Really? Don't say that to us.
I'll put back on when we win something.
Yeah. Oh, no, it'll be 10 years.
Hope not.
I know.
Brilliant. I've loved it. The girls have as well, I'm sure. And you know what? Thanks for thanks for every Arsenal fan for everything that you did for us.
My pleasure. I had fun too, you know.
Oh, good. And you know, you are our right back legend. We love you so much, and carry on doing what you're doing. Really, you know, just carry on doing what you're doing. We love watching you on TV.
All right.
I love him.
Yes.
I'm feeling the love, girls.
Oh, good. The Gooner girls love you, Lee. The Gooner girls love you.
I've got to go and do some work now.
I know. Thank you so much for joining us.
Enjoy.
So we just said goodbye to Lee Dixon, our fantastic right back for Arsenal, who I'm sure, girls, we just had the best hour chatting.
Ever.
Yeah.
I mean, that was amazing. There's so many things that he talked about and said that I know, you know, the four of us would love to have, you know, the Wenger training comment, thing about the modern day players, the last bit there with Sophia's last question on, you know, everything. There's so if we could have had him for the whole day, we still wouldn't have been able to cut through everything that we wanted to talk about.
Agree.
Definitely.
Agree. But he did say he's going to come back again. And he enjoyed us, so that's very good. And, okay, so, you know, we're going to wrap up ourselves anyway. But has anyone got anything to say about the fact that we are playing Liverpool in the next match?
Oh, I can't even think about it. I'm dreading it.
I think that we're both vulnerable at the back. We both have huge issues confidence-wise defensively. I think we can both be lethal going forward. I don't think Liverpool's season has started off great either. I think this is a real chance for us to lay down a marker, but we don't love playing at Anfield, do we? So, I don't know. I think a draw. I'm going to go with a bore draw and play it safe because I don't trust us and I really don't trust them either.
Sima, what do you think?
Who do we have coming back, actually, from our back four? Do we have any of the...
It must be Koscielny. He must be finished his ban.
He's big fans, yeah.
Yeah, if Koscielny's back, I mean, funny enough, I don't feel as worried as I do feel when we play against smaller teams these days, because apparently we show up when we play against big teams, and then when it comes back down to the other ones, that's... But yeah, if Koscielny's back, I do have a good feeling. Otherwise, I don't have any going into any game, and that's kind of bad.
Go on, Sophia, what do you reckon?
I think we're going to lose.
But wait, Lee Dixon could have brought us luck, girls. What if the whole Anfield 89 thing, Amanda's greatest night ever, you know, Lee Dixon comes on the show. I mean,
trust me, I would be overjoyed if that happened. But honestly, I just cannot see us winning. We might draw. I think we're going to lose. I'll be happy if we draw. Can't see us winning.
Okay.
No, you know what?
Amanda?
I feel like we've been very negative. We're going to win. We have to win.
Come on, let's get stuck in. Amanda, give us the good news. Come on.
Well, the good news is, girls, that I'm going. The last time I saw us win there was Anfield 89. I've seen us draw and lose. So it is about time. I'm a little bit with Sophia on this. I'm a realist. I can't see us doing anything. I was appalled watching Stoke. It just feels like the season has just continued from the last season, I'm afraid. But you know what? Sima could be right. We could turn up. I'm excited. I always love going to Liverpool for the weekend. Obviously, it holds a place in my heart. And I always go positive. So, I'll just wait and see. I'll let you all know when I come back from Liverpool what it was like. Right, we're going to have to wrap it up now. So, Sophia, thank you so much. I know you've got to go to work. We'll speak to you on the next pod.
All right, thanks, girls. You've been fab.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Later, mate.
Okay, so Sophia's left us and we'll be back on the next pod. Sima, Sophie, how much of that hour has been fantastic?
I want to relive it all again right now, right, Sima?
Yeah, and I want to ask him so many more questions. I wish he can stay on forever.
No, me too. We'll have to do another special with him.
Absolutely.
He'll come back.
I feel like we've been living in a dream, that we just have spent an hour talking to Lee Dixon, and I just sitting here going, has he gone? Did it happen? You know, was it a dream? I feel like Bobby Ewing in Dallas or something. I'm going to wake up, come out of the shower, and it was a dream. So to all our listeners, thank you so much for all your comments and your tweets and your Facebooks. You know, you can catch us on iTunes, YouTube and SoundCloud and all the Android platforms. Please subscribe, like and comment and rate. And from us, it's goodbye and always Arsenal.
This podcast is sponsored by the Tollington Arms on Hornsey Road, a bubbly pub with a Thai kitchen, home to thousands of Arsenal fans every season. Open daily from noon.